Hey, welcome to the Runaways podcast. My name is Cody, and I am back. I was gone last week. I leave for 1 week. That's it. And I am incredibly frustrated with the three of you. 1 week gone, and we have completely moved away from the core tenets that this podcast was easily founded on. The first core tenet is that we all hate each other. This is a very important thing in every podcast to make sure that we communicate properly with the audience. The number two thing is that we argue. We only argue. There's no agreeing with anybody. And there was only agreement last week that completely ruined the core tenet. And number three, we only talk over each other. That's it. You have to fight for every word. We don't want the audience to hear anything we're actually saying, just us interrupting each other at all times. And so I think it's important, now that I'm back, Daddy's home, that we can officially get back the podcast to the way it's supposed to be.
I don't know.
You should have left us better notes, man.
I kind of feel like we like actually we should keep it that way. I feel like we should keep it peaceful. I don't like all this arguing.
No. Only arguing.
You're definitely.
Yeah.
You only don't want to argue because you lose the argument. What do you mean?
What are you talking about? Well, I guess we're back to basics now.
Okay, that was a great intro. Thank you.
Yeah, no, we're back to basics.
We're back.
It's all good.
Now everyone can be happy again. Okay. So I'll start with you, Lucas. Thanks for taking over some of the hosting duty of last week. I am back. I'm feeling much better now that my wisdom teeth are gone. But how was your week so far in Flesh and Blood? I know we're grinding pretty hard for London. I know at least I have been.
Yeah, it's been good. I've just been playing a bunch of games. I am pretty close to sure what I'm playing at London. I think I have it narrowed down to like 2 to 3 heroes, and I have one that I'm pretty sure I'm gonna play. And then I've just been playing a lot of draft. That's what I've been trying to do when I have free time, is get in draft. At a lot of the recent events, I've had some middling drafts. The first few drafts that I had at majors, like the first 3 or 4, were like very good, like a lot of 5-1s and 6-0s. But recently I've had a lot more like 3-3s and 4-2s and stuff like that. And so I would like to get this draft kind of down. And I would really like for draft not to kind of ruin my performance again, because it's been a few events in a row where I feel really good about my CC deck, but it doesn't matter because I lose 3 draft games and then I'm just not able to do well. Like the Zen deck that I played at Amsterdam, I thought was pretty reasonable, but I didn't even get to play all the rounds. And then the Zen deck that we played at Worlds was sweet. I went 7-2. I only lost to the Zen Mirror playing against Charles, and then a new on stream where I didn't draw Chi in 40-something cards. And like that deck was sweet, but I went 3-3 in draft, so it just didn't matter. And so that's mostly what I've been focusing on. I just want to not have that happen again. So
yeah, I mean, I'm in a similar boat. I'm between. I think I'm at this point. I'm legitimately between 2 decks that I'm choosing between that I'm going to play, and I feel a lot better about it than I did 2 days ago about what deck I was going to play. But draft has been incredibly difficult for me. I don't know what it is about this set. In this draft, it doesn't click. I've done extremely well at all my drafts at all majors, like X2 or better every single time. X2 is like the absolute worst. Most of the time it's like X1 or 6-0. And I can't do this draft. I just can't function. I can't win a game. Like I draft and I just lose my first game every time. And it's just like, I don't know. It's not clicking. I got to like really, really focus down and regrind onto this draft.
I wonder if there's like a correlation there. Cause like I have been doing like super well in this draft. I've been like consistently 2-1-ing or 3-0-ing. And I feel like maybe it's just because I only do well when it's like normal FAB draft. When it's just like boring, like pick your hero by like pick 3 or 4 and just normally take whatever the best playable is. Like kind of how this set feels sometimes. I think this is like the peak of normal FAB draft. Like it does feel like there's a lot more staying open. And it feels like decisions are actually impactful, but it does feel like normal FAB draft. Whereas like Miss Vale and Rosetta maybe were too complicated for my feeble mind to comprehend. Like if I don't have to choose my lane by pick 4, I just fumble and die, I guess.
No, it's been a real issue. Like in these games, because I haven't gone worse than X2 at a major in a very long time. And most of the time it's like X1, and then I just fail in CC because I'm apparently trash can at CC.
Makes sense.
But this draft, I can't win a game in our own lobbies. Like I just go into the lobbies, I draft a deck, I'm like, oh, this deck looks good. I play the game and I just cannot win the game. So
Have you tried maybe taking some of the 3-0 decks and just like playing them into people, seeing if it's a pilot issue or a drafting issue?
I have not. We have not done that yet. That's why I
Okay.
said I need to refocus on actual draft, making
Because
sure I'm
maybe if
not
you can win
making
some
play
games with those
mistakes.
decks, then you get like validation that okay, maybe I'm doing something wrong in the drafting portion.
Oh no, I'm
And if you can, then you
I'm fairly certain I'm
Yeah, if
doing
you
something
can,
wrong in
then-
the actual games.
We might not have you back again next week.
Yeah.
Other
I'm
issues.
I'm fairly certain I'm doing something wrong in the actual games.
Oh, okay.
Because the
Yeah,
games are pretty tight.
Have you been getting your games in?
Yes,
Good.
yes, I'm
Good.
getting games in now that I have narrowed down my selection on CC.
Good.
Refocus. I'll get there. I'll get to somewhere I'm comfortable with. But it's the first time going to a major where I'm like, my draft might tank my ability to top. Like, and I've never felt that way going.
It's
this
a really
close to
scary
major before.
feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's like
Every
really,
time I'm like, if we drafted the whole tournament, I'd be so good. Like that's how I normally feel, and
I-
this one's not.
I feel like more nervous for draft. I feel like after the last few events, I feel more nervous for draft than I feel for CC, which is normally like the complete opposite. Where normally I'm like, well, draft is going to be draft. I'm just going to do my thing. Now it's like there's like a very real chance that I could just like torpedo. Like in Amsterdam, I 3-0 the first draft, and I was like, I felt on top of the world. I thought it was going to be easy. And my dumb
I
ass
think I have
three.
I have like a one head take about draft. Maybe
Yeah, what's
5 head, maybe one head. So like I just never get nervous about draft. Because the thing is, like, as once I get to a baseline level of understanding how to pick the cards, then the way you play your deck is going to be different based on what crazy cards you saw in the packs and what deck you ended up with. So I just like never really get nervous about it beforehand. I get nervous about it once I draft my deck and I'm like, oh, my deck's a steaming pile of dog poo.
Yeah.
But in the lead up to the tournament, I feel like I'm just never nervous about draft.
I agree.
I'm only nervous
this
when
is
like someone
a weird.
figured something out. In
Well,
season
yeah,
either.
normally I
I'm
agree.
having. That's
Yeah.
why
Normally I agree with you. It's the first time.
It's
Oh,
like
okay,
I'm
okay.
Dan,
it's setting in that it
how are
might
you?
actually tank me.
I'm doing all right. I kind of feel what you guys are feeling. This is how I felt going into Rosetta. Like I was just like kind of winging it for draft, which I highly recommend against. So definitely get your reps in if that's what you're feeling. Yeah, no, that's what I'm like currently unprepared for both, but I feel confident I'll get draft figured out in time because I like know how to attack that. I'm just like so lost with CC, and not even that I'm lost. It's just I'm not enjoying any deck right now, and I don't know if Zen's going to be legal, and I can't figure out like the perfect meta deck. And it's not flowing for me. I don't like that deck at all. I just don't know what to do on the CC front. So that's where my current struggle. Like usually going into a major, I'm like, I'd be shocked if I lose more than 1.5 CC games or 2 games. That doesn't always play out, but that's usually how I'm feeling. Where like this event, I'm like, I'm probably gonna go like 5-4 currently, and I'd be happy about it in CC, which is like terrible place to be.
You certainly would not be happy about it, but you would understand that that was the fate you chose.
Yeah, that's like my current expectation. Like I don't know how to gain edges right now in this meta, other than just like controlling what hero I play against every round.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's how I felt, and then I narrowed down my choices of what decks I was going to play, and then I used those feelings to kind of probably leverage what decks I'm gonna play, and just leave it into that bin, and then I feel a lot better. But that was literally this morning. Like if you talked to me yesterday, I was just like, I hate the CC format. Like I hate it and I love it. Like the CC format's good, right? But it's like prepping for the major. I'm just like, I don't want to see this deck, but I kind of want to see this deck, and this deck we're just flipping coins. And then how do I play in this situation? And there feels like there might be answers to these questions, but it's just like a lot of questions that are continually trying to figure out, and they're really hard to answer at this point. And so I was just like, very frustrated with it. And then I woke up this morning and I was like, I think it's this. I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then I tested some of it today, and I was like, I think this is the world I'm supposed to live in.
Oh, I'm just gonna do that too then, whatever that is.
Dan,
No, I really just need a deck that I enjoy playing is my issue right now. Like I'm fine like choosing my gambles in the tournament, but I want to be like excited to be playing my deck, and like I have this thing going on that some people won't be ready for. I just have like none of that going on yet.
Yeah. Well, speaking of decks you may enjoy playing, we did get some spoilers today, which were unexpected, but very, very happy and welcome addition.
You're welcome.
We we saw the 3 new heroes that are coming out in the next set, Seas, right?
High seas, yeah.
High Seas. And it's pretty nice because they're all pirates. It's not a pirate class. It's not like just here, this is like an offshoot. They're all pirates, which I think is cool that we found out that that's a talent. But we also have a necromancer. We have the ranger, and then we also have a mech. I think the mech was a little unexpected. At least it was for
I
me
think-
personally.
I'm pretty sure we literally
but-
said that on the podcast. We were,
It was
You might have,
expecting
but
that.
it was like not being talked about, but like it is actually the class outside of Ranger that has had the longest since it had a. Because think about it, the last time, if you actually think about it, like Mech was in Arcane Rising draft, and then Bright Lights draft, and that's the only time Mech's ever been draftable. Like it's kind of about time, right? Like it's never been in a real draft format with another class.
And finally, they're not caring about boost. Like it's actually crank. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to worry
Yeah.
about the nonsense. Banish your top deck, hopefully.
Well, maybe. I mean, the thing is, maybe you still play boost cards because they are.
Well, in CC, but I'm saying in limited, they probably won't have
Yeah.
boost because like you'll be playing pyro cards and stuff.
It seems likely. Yeah.
Like I'm definitely down to boost, but I would like to be able to play the game not completely on the boost access.
Yeah.
Like that,
Yeah.
it just makes playing mech unenjoyable when the only thing they can do is boost.
Yeah, I was more meaning for like limited purposes. That was always like the worst part about limited is like you draft this one-off bomb and there's some games you just lose because you banish it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's narrow this down a little bit since we
Mhm.
talked about everything. Let's start. We can start with the mech since we're talking about it right now. It's Puffin Hightail is the new mech. We do not know how much health it starts with, so it could potentially start with lower health. It's more than likely 40, but who knows? And they have action, and we've learned that it's a tap symbol for allies, I believe.
Well, we don't know
just-
that for sure.
So the tap, what it appears to be is that the black symbol on the heroes is to
Probably for themselves.
It's to tap. Yeah.
Yeah.
It appears that like that is you tap to themselves, and then the cards that reference tapping other things say tap an ally. So
Yep.
Yeah,
it's
so it's basically
probably it's probably just tap itself is the condition.
it's like a new way. Instead of saying once per turn, you just like tap.
Which we do already. Like if you chain, you
yeah.
tap. Like
It
we already
also-
do the.
Oh, you
the
can't do
action,
that now.
It also potentially
technically.
yeah, it also potentially like interacts with stuff, right? I could see things caring about tap
Yep.
things.
And the ability is action tap, destroy a gold, create a golden cog token. Do we know what the golden cog token is?
We do not.
Okay, I didn't
It
think
is
so.
probably an item with crank. That does
Yes,
something.
probably an item with crank. And then its actual ability is just the second time you crank each turn, draw a card.
Yeah, and then the golden cog. The other thing is we have seen a mechanologist card that galvanizes, and if you galvanize a golden cog, that card makes a gold, and then you repeat this process. You repeat the thing to blow up an item you control, and this
Yep.
it gains +1 health. But basically, like golden cogs are a item that you presumably blow up for extra effects.
Yes.
And what's cool is that you're essentially having like a unlimited engine, right? Provided you
Mhm.
never have to stack your gold for their own effect. You can just keep turning them back and forth from cogs.
And it has draw printed on the.
Yes, and the hero says draw a card, so it's obviously
Yeah.
probably strong if you can do the thing.
Well, does
Yep,
it actually say
it-
draw? Isn't that like blanked?
No, it says draw card.
Oh, we can see that from the picture I'm looking at. The draw is like obscured.
Yeah. But that's almost the only thing it could
Dude,
be.
imagine it says discard a card. They're just bamboozling us. You just get screwed.
Sure. It could be
Apparently
like
it says draw card.
it could be something else, but it seems like it says draw card. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is basically just while it's strong, it replaces the item that you play for crank. Since you don't get to play an item like off the top of your deck like you would for like Dio or something, the item that you're playing that you're cranking is one, probably the golden cog. That would be like one way. And then the other one is like a card from hand, and then you're cranking it. So this is replacing the item that you're cranking, which is still good value, but it's like is something to keep in mind with what this ability is trying to do. Is try
Yeah,
and essentially let you play one from your hand instead of playing one from the top of your deck. It's
The
very much
items-
the same thing.
Yeah, the items we have so far basically are kind of bad. So it's like you're playing a slightly bad card, but you get to draw a card in exchange. So it's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, for example, something like Hadron Collider is pretty reasonable if you're boosting. Where
Yeah,
like
it's-
that one.
I think the shields are probably the best ones.
and the
yeah, I mean,
shields,
if most of the cards are just on rate, or sorry, they're 1 point behind rate if you crank them, or if
Mhm.
you.
I
Don't
think
crank
that
them.
Cerebellum card has crank too.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard
That
that's a
one's
good
pretty
card.
good.
Yeah.
Heard that's good.
And also the second time you crank each turn, I don't know if there'll be any way to do that on the opponent's turn, but like maybe there's a
Mhm.
world where you can like put multiple like what's that yellow card? The one that like resets system reset. Maybe there's like some system reset on their turn where you like
You can also
get to draw their
play.
turn.
There's the item that plays items from your hand at instant speed. There's one that does that.
Oh yeah.
There's also like gloves and stuff that do it as
Yep.
well,
Yeah.
isn't there?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so theoretically could trigger on both turns, but pretty unlikely.
Pretty unlikely. Cool. Let's talk about what everyone is excited about.
Yeah.
Marilyn, treasure hunter. This is the pirate ranger. At least I will say we are pretty excited about this hero. I don't know if everyone else is excited as we are. But action, tap, destroy a gold. It's probably like if you do create a
it
goldfin
should be
harpoon.
Yeah, it should be action, destroy a gold you control, create a goldfin harpoon in your banish zone.
Yep.
Or in your arsenal, probably. Go again. Whenever you draw a card during probably your action phase, maybe an action phase, but whenever you draw a card during either your or your opponent's action phase, we're not sure, you may put an likely says an arrow from your hand face up into your arsenal, although it could technically say an attack action or an action.
I don't think there's any space for that on the card. It surely is just arrow.
Yeah, it seems likely that it's arrow. I think it could technically be action, but it seems likely to be.
I'm sleuthing based on font size. I'm pretty sure it's during an action phase and an arrow, but we'll see.
Yeah,
but regardless, it's still just like a obscene ability, no?
Yes, yeah, the ability's crazy. I mean, both abilities, right? We don't technically know what the goldfin harpoon is, I believe. I think the harpoon that we've seen is a different harpoon, but like this thing makes an arrow on its hero ability, so you can be super greedy with your pumps if you want, but you also get to play like New Horizon and Codex of Inertia and Three of a Kind, and your hero ability makes Rain Razors better, and you definitely can slot Codex of Frailty in your deck normally. Like, this just looks like, to me, Lexi with, instead of Voltaire, you just have like a different hero ability. But like, it feels like you're still allowed to use all of the broken cards that Ranger gets to play to basically their max potential. Like, Three of a Kind is super playable in this hero. Codex of Frailty and Codex of Inertia, super playable in this hero. Chain Reaction looks like it's probably playable in this hero. Rain Razors.
Already we're going like a different direction. To me, this seems like an arrow where I can just slam my entire deck as arrows. I cut some cards for power cards, but it's like the Lexi situation of there were previous builds where you were trying to get cute with like ice and lightning and fusing and stuff. But then at the end of the day, the best build is just like you just slam all the good arrows and you essentially can't brick, right? Because you can sack gold by pitching like your blue arrow, draw a card, put the arrow in. And if all your cards are just like arrows, you're always able to play and leverage the anthem type effects like Birch Grapplers and Rain Razors.
Yeah, you
you
can't quite, I think, play like all arrows because you don't have Voltaire. Like, I think you have to play more non-attacks than Lexi did, but I think you can still play like a bunch of arrows.
No, but there's so many arrows with Go Again. If you just like,
but you could, it might be better instead of playing like Falcon Wing and other Falcon Wing, you could play like.
There's only 2 arrows with Go Again, right? Or
it's Bolton Shot.
No, there's like 9 Bolton Shots. Like
you're including Bolton Shot.
9.
But you're not playing pumps. Bolton Shot doesn't have Go Again.
No, but you have like 1 pump in your hand. So you're shooting like the Bolton Shot into another arrow. Like you're always able to deploy multiple arrows.
It just depends on the weapon, I think. Because currently it looks like this hero uses Death Dealer well, is the first thing. Like,
yeah.
So it could be that Death Dealer is their weapon and they're giving it like the Kasayan Blitz treatment where they're saying, okay, we designed this hero with Death Dealer. We know Azalea is about to LL, but we're making this Marlin's signature weapon now.
Yeah.
But it could also be like, it could also be a weapon that's worse than Death
I don't know.
Dealer.
Artistically, she looks like she would wield Death Dealer to me.
Yeah. The interesting thing, though, is that like they could have it where it's Death Dealer is better than the weapon that they make in this set. And so you play with Death Dealer until Azalea levels. And then
certainly, we're not at a state of FAB where like you could play Death Dealer Unlimited. I feel like that would just be way too good. Like most limited weapons are just like way less power level than Death Dealer.
Yeah, that's probably true. But my thing is just, I'm curious if her weapon is going to be better or worse than Death Dealer. Because if it's better than Death Dealer, then holy shit, her weapon's better than Death Dealer.
I mean, her weapon could give like harpoons Go Again, right? Like
Well,
It could be something like
harpoon
that.
that we have already has go again.
Yeah. I don't know if we don't know if there's other harpoons. We don't know if there's other things. It could give something specific to her go again.
Yeah.
As well.
Could be ally related.
I feel like they don't want Lexi again. I feel like they're not gonna make weapon that gives go again. That just seems unlikely to me. I feel like she's gonna go wide the same way Azalea does, where like some of your cards have go again, but you're mostly just playing like some pumps and some arrows.
I don't know. Her ability is sick.
Her ability
Like,
is
you don't
crazy.
need an arrow.
Both of
like,
her
you almost don't need a bow, right? So the bow needs to do something outside of what her ability already does.
I mean, her both of her abilities are good. Like making an arrow is probably above rate and is also crazy with like rain razors and all.
How
the
do we
pumps.
know it's an arrow?
And then
It's a harpoon.
Do we know it's an arrow?
The last harpoon we saw
We've
was an
seen
arrow.
a harpoon, and one of the harpoons at least is an arrow.
Well, no, we saw it from like that super sus 2-pixel website. We haven't seen it on like
it's possible that's fake. It's possible that's fake. Yeah. But
it is possible that is fake.
I feel like surely the harpoons are arrows though. So the thing is, the entire Ranger card pool currently is all arrows and cards that pump arrows. So like you can't really make a Ranger that doesn't care about arrows unless you make it a Ranger that doesn't use any cards.
1 second. Before someone in the comments tells you you're wrong, there's also Take Aim, which buffs Ranger.
So there's like Take Aim and hybrid cards like Death Touch and stuff like that. Like, but I'm saying that like the cards that Ranger has access to are arrow cards. Like that's what they do, unless they're hybrid cards.
I just think there has to be some sort of drawback, because if this is as it's printed today, it seems like far and away better than everything else we have. At least that's my opinion.
It's kind of interesting though, because you don't have bread in the ledger, so you're basically playing like an Azalea deck.
You have your opponent dies. Why they can't play actions because they have 0 life total?
No, but I'm saying like playing a Ranger with no armor and no cards that block well, and just trying to aggro people is like,
but your cards all block 3. You're playing so many arrows.
It is an exploitable strategy. Maybe I don't think your idea of playing all arrows or close to it is real. I think you can maybe fit like 20-30 is like what you're looking for. Like it's really hard to play. I mean, we'll see what the cards are, right?
Yeah, we'll see what happens. My idea is
she's also getting a whole set of cards.
Yeah,
But this hero actually is so good it slots into like our current card pool, and it would be strong in my opinion.
To me, this hero has to be some hidden drawback because it seems too good. But
I don't think that's true. I think as is, she is probably strong, but like her cards could make her like pretty good. Like very like a strong like
I agree.
Hero.
Yeah.
Like whatever.
I'm just saying with our current pool and her just bottom text is like a pretty decent deck. Like
yeah, I don't think it's better than Azalea. I don't think it's close actually. Is something for what it's worth.
It might attack things on a different angle though.
Yeah, I think you do need the set that it comes out.
Yeah. Cool.
Also, some like stuff from previous sets. 2 performance bonus. That card that like on hit makes a gold.
Mm-hmm.
So we got some like stonks going up.
It's going to be interesting to see if any of these gold cards are generic. To see if like Victor and Betsy and Olympia can like care about them.
No, gold's the payoff.
Payups were like $35 on TCG Player when I looked earlier.
Well, gold doesn't even need to be the payoff now. Like we have real payoffs, right? Goldfin Harpoon. Like you turn money into real damage. Your gold hits you. You're like throwing coins at your opponent. You know, it's nice.
Okay. In the last hero that's spoiled that everyone has been waiting on for, I don't know, forever at this point. I'm probably locked already on what deck I'm playing at Nationals. And it is this hero. And we have Gravy Bones. Shipwrecked Looter. It is a pirate necromancer. Its ability is instant tap, destroy a gold you control, draw a card, and then discard a card. So the other week when we talked about looting, this is pretty much what this is. And then the other bottom text is if a blue card has been put into your graveyard this turn, you may play cards with Watery Grave from your graveyard.
Also, real quick, his name is Gravy Bones, not Gravy Bones. It's important to pronounce it like Gravy Bones.
Gravy Bones.
Cool.
I cannot wait to see these cards.
Yeah, these are gonna be sweet.
One like small thing, I don't know. I just don't like how Watery Grave is in like lowercase like that. It looks weird. I feel like it should be.
It should be bold. It should be bold.
Yeah. It looks janky.
I mean, that means that
so
it's
we have
not
new
like
blood
normal
here,
keyword,
right?
though, right? Actually, I guess I can just pull out an Arc Lightning and I can. No, that says whenever you go again, not whenever you gain go again.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm assuming it's a keyword or a type or something, but we know that he's going to play with allies, and the allies are probably all tagged with Watery Grave.
Yeah.
That would be my assumption, and that you put them out into play. I'm going to also assume they probably have 1 health because they printed anaphylactic shock, or at least a majority of them, or some of them do. And then you have to tap them in order to make your cards better. I'm also going to assume they probably have some like 1 damage tap, deal a damage stipulation on it, so you're deciding between dealing damage or making the cards you're playing better. That's my assumption of how this hero probably ends up working, with some spikes and big stuff on top of that. Either way, it's a necromancer. It has additional access to cards in the graveyard. Hopefully it's more than just like go again, make 1 dude. Hopefully there's a little bit more there, but it has a lot of things going for it, in the fact that it cares about blues. Normally decks that are like blue cards good,
I mean,
have like a good
examples.
base to work with.
We have
Exactly.
We have 3 Mystic heroes and Icelander. And those heroes are all
One of
broken.
the best decks
They're
ever.
all
What about
great.
old
So here,
time?
No, he wasn't Blues Matter. Though. He was just like
This
Blues
is-
are good. That's different.
yeah, this would be like our 5th blues matter.
Sure.
I do like tapping him is like as an instant to loot. I think is a lot stronger than it looks at face value, because you could do it on either turn, assuming there's like a way to untap him, or you make it on your turn, go to their opponent's turn. You need a different card in your hand. They play Command and Conquer. You have D-reacts. Let's get rid of this. Let's actually grab a card that blocks. There's like a whole suite of things that looting does. It also feeds the graveyard for the cards that you need.
It's also if any of these cards with Watery Grave are instants, you can turn your hero ability on with a different discard spell on your own turn and be able to play cards with Watery Grave, and then you can use your hero ability on your opponent's turn. And then if there are cards with Watery Grave that you can play on their turn, then you can turn it on them. So
yeah, I'm like super pumped for this hero. Like the design space in this hero specifically, I think is gorgeous. Like there's so much stuff you could do to make like the experience of playing this really, really fun. So I'm excited to see like
that's how I
direction
feel
they
for
go with it.
all these heroes. Actually, I
True.
think all of these heroes, even the ones that are like slept on. I think Puffin is like the big one that people kind of.
Brother slept on. We haven't even slept yet. They've been revealed like 4 hours ago.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
into speculation like you guys are. I'm just waiting to see
No,
way
I
more
feel
information before I have any excitement or judgments on these guys.
I feel like everybody I've talked to is like agreed that like Puffin is clearly like the least excited. Like people are least excited about Puffin just because it's like a mech.
Something cool too, I just noticed when you were talking about blue cards, if you like look at the artwork, Marlin has like the red theme, Puffin has the yellow, and then Gravy has like the blue theme.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, makes sense.
Okay. One more thing too. That's kind of like a cool interaction. We've had a few of these so far, like Phantasmal Footsteps and Rampart being one, where like caring about the chain matters from the opponent. I could also see that for playing against Gravy, where like he blocked with a blue card, and you really don't want to close the chain to let him turn on his hero power.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, seems super sick.
It
Also,
was true with
just,
like Purgatory and stuff like that. Similar effects. If you like block face
Purgatory
Purg and they have a card in hand and they discard a card and they like discard a blue, then maybe like you like don't net plus and card advantage because they're allowed to play cards this turn that they wouldn't be able to otherwise. It can come up.
I see what you're saying, man.
It can come up. It's not that ridiculous. Is it?
That was just the most ridiculous jump from like blocking on the chain, but sure. It
No,
could
I'm
happen.
just saying like there is stuff on your opponent's turn where like you have to play around his hero ability because he just like as the opponent you have some agency in how your opponent's cards get discarded. So like there is play with the opponent playing around his hero ability outside of just the combat chain is what I was saying. Like,
Okay.
Now that Cody said it, I'm like fully expecting the assassin instant to just like make this guy unplayable, just based on past history.
Did you see
with,
the
assassin
rainbow
preference.
foil EA spiked like $100 today?
There's like a bunch of those like random cards actually that like do like 1 damage to stuff that we kind of like haven't.
So one thing I think that's maybe something strong about him is there's nothing that stipulates these watery grave cards ever get banished.
Yeah.
So like even if they take a turn like board wiping you with anaphylactic shock, unless the cards themselves have some kind of like ephemeral text, they could just like come back every turn.
Yeah, my personal guess is that these cards, like the restriction on them is that they're super like expensive and take your action point. That's my guess because they're
There's no shot they take your action point like you're doing on your opponent's turn.
well. So I'm saying that like they're. I mean that is one thing that is reasonable, right? Is like you play them on your opponent's turn. That's how you kind of like cheat the action point. problem. But like,
Well, how do you play it on your
can't gain
opponent's
action points on
turn?
the opponent's
Yeah,
It
no,
has to
you
be an
literally
instant.
can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm saying you like.
His hero power doesn't say you
Oh,
can play
sure,
it as an
sure.
instant
You're
like
right.
Icebender.
You're right. Yeah. That's right.
Oh no.
Well, I mean, I was gonna
We're
say
back.
something, but like, it doesn't make sense, then, right?
Maybe the workaround is that they don't block. Maybe like
No, I still think.
some of the
I think
watery
that's-
grave cards don't block.
I mean,
That's very reasonable. Yeah, you're gonna have to play like Rally the Rearguard and stuff to like find ways of creatively.
That's
getting
why you
them
got to
to
loot. You got to loot them into your grave.
Yeah,
so
or
you
looting,
can
yeah.
find
But then
cards that
you have to
block.
make the gold.
Yeah.
I think it's also reasonable to just make them like if they cost an action point for the most part. Like you can only play one card a turn. Like that is, I think, a reasonable stipulation. It's like you have to try and. There are maybe ways to play multiple cards a turn, but like if they're all these big blue expensive cards that cost a bunch of money, like or like if they're all like 3 cost, for example, like if your deck is blue matters and all of the watery grave cards cost 3, then like you get card advantage, but it's maybe like kind of difficult card advantage because you have to maybe they're all like slightly neg, but you're allowed to play them from grave, so that's where like
Like a 3 for 4, but you pitch a blue to play it, so it's like kind of
maybe like slightly ahead of that value. Maybe like it would be like 5 or 6 points, but in a ally format. But
It's also
Yep.
kind of sick that you draw then discard.
Yep.
Mhm.
Like being able to see the option instead of a Cilio,
Mhm.
making discard first. So many times you like play a Cilio, you discard a card, draw the same card. Just like, all right.
Yeah, this card is what everybody thought Acilio was going to be. Like they thought Acilio was going to like synergize with the discard, and this guy like actually synergizes with the discard.
Well, because this guy, you have to sack a gold. Like the other people sack gold for profit. He sacks gold for like maybe profit.
Do you think you play CYB?
Oh no.
Oh, devastating.
Oh, dude. 5 had
Definitely if they
banned the blue.
release.
That's why they banned the blue one, was
Yeah.
specifically for gravy.
Yeah. Yeah, they had the foresight.
They're one step ahead of us.
Count your blessings,
Yeah,
gravy.
If UIP works well,
Count your gravy.
Got your gravy.
That sounds like
Yeah.
something that would be on a Cracker Barrel menu. Count your blessings, gravy.
I don't
you
know.
like
I'm
know your
excited for this
stack?
hero, for sure.
Yeah.
Some people have been mentioning it's like chain-esque. I don't really think that, other than maybe there's some inevitability built into this hero. I could see it being like a slower start, build up. You have some type of combo or finishers or a lockout that ends up happening at some point in the game.
And if the watery grave cards can be like spammed, then it kind of can be like chain, where like eventually if you
Yep.
get enough of these things in your grave, if you could just start playing them, like it's pretty ridiculous.
Yep. So I'm excited. I mean, that is one of the parts that I like the most about chain. So I don't know. I'm probably already locked for Necromancer. Actually, I've been hearing this a lot. There's like a really good chance that what could happen is Necromancer is like one of the most played heroes, and it's terrible. Like, because the amount of people I talk to who are just like, I'm playing this no matter what happens.
Yep.
Is
That's what
very
people said
high.
about Riptide too, though, just because you like.
No one said that about Riptide. No idea what you're talking about.
It was like
Yeah,
for sure.
they all say that until they play the hero. Like,
We'll see. Okay. Anything else on these 3 heroes before we move on?
these are sweet. One thing that I think is is like for playing Nats, like I think you can play any of these heroes, honestly. Like just based off of hero text alone, they're all clearly very powerful. They have really strong abilities. And I think that barring maybe the cards just being like completely unplayable, it feels like all of these heroes are at least going to be like solid functioning decks with powerful abilities and are reasonable to play if you're considering them for US Nats. Like I think
I disagree strongly at this point.
I think that
We don't even know how
probably the
tapping works.
highest
We don't even know if
EV
it is tapping.
I think probably the highest EV thing to do is to just play like an older hero, but if you want to have fun, I think you like have to lock on the new hero like as soon as spoilers start. And I think that like it's better to just lock these heroes now and kind of hope that they're no. I mean lock. hold on. I think
It's way too early, man.
No, I think for people who are going to the event, it's like if you're willing to play a new hero, I think it's better to lock the hero as soon as spoilers start than it is to like wait till spoilers are completely done and like test the hero and try and figure out if it's good.
You have said on the day of spoilers, when like we didn't even know these spoilers were coming out, that these heroes are both slept on, and you should lock them for now.
No. You don't understand. I'm just saying they all look pretty good. Like I'm just saying
That's
I
a
think
fine
that
thing to say. I agree. They look pretty
Yes,
I
good
think
and
it's
interesting.
IEV to lock them.
I am
even
so
early
very
as
far
possible.
from considering playing these ever until
No,
I
that's
see
all I'm saying is
at
that,
least
like,
how the mechanics work.
I'm just saying I think it makes more sense to if you're willing to play a new hero, I think locking them is fine, because I don't think it's worth it to like wait till spoilers are done and then test them and then be like not sure if your deck that you're working on is playable 2 weeks before. Like I would just lock it as soon as spoilers start and kind of just hope. I think that's higher EV is what I'm saying. Like I think hoping that your deck is playable is better, because I think these heroes all look pretty good. I think
Yeah,
they're
for
all
the first time,
probably safe.
for the first time in the first set, and I think if you go back to any time we've talked about sets before, this is the first time I think the heroes just look really good. Like I've noticeably complained or held judgment on heroes in almost every set that comes out, but I look at these heroes and I look at the text on the heroes and I just go, this is good text. Like barring whatever comes out, the text on these heroes are actually good, and I'm super excited for probably this set more than any other set, just because look at the heroes, like they're good.
Yeah, we haven't had that since
Some with Misfail, but Misfail was like big question mark around Chi.
Enigma's hero text doesn't look that good when you just read it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's why I said a
hero
little
text-
bit with.
I think it's
New
like
did,
maybe
but-
Uprising. Maybe
Enigma,
Uprising.
Enigma gives you a resource every time you attack. That's like OP. What do you mean?
Yeah, we didn't know how to make them. We didn't know the Chi. There's too many questions.
Yeah,
If you just look at the
I
body
like
text
bad
on here, and
to
it's just
remember.
good.
Unclear.
Yeah.
Like these heroes are just like clearly like one of them draws a card. One of them like lets you load arrows freely in a class that wants to do that and works with New Horizon, which is like such a big deal for Ranger. And then the Necromancer just like has card advantage and has looting as your other ability. It's just like clearly all powerful effects. Like there's no Olympia in this set. Like
Yeah,
there's nothing that is just like clearly not powerful and not good. I feel like
I think they could have printed the heroes with either the first paragraph or the second, and they would still be good.
I
But
think
they just like have both.
Yeah.
You could like literally ignore the first paragraph on all of them, and they'd probably still be good.
Yep. It's exciting. I've never been more excited for a set than this one, based on just the heroes.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm not even happy about Nationals, but now I have to be excited for Nationals because I get to actually play with these cards.
Yeah,
So
and also
they've suckered me
falling
in to
victim.
a tournament that I'm not happy
The
about.
one thing that he swore to destroy.
yeah. Did you see they're doing a macro again for this set?
Yeah, we can't
Yeah, that's
read
pretty
it
cool.
quite, but it looks to be impactful. It was my thing. Like
I saw the word gold.
Yeah, it looks to meaningfully interact with the board. It's something like whenever somebody attacks or maybe deals damage, you put a counter on it and then you remove counters from it to make gold. That's what it looked like to me. But it's definitely not like the Aria macro where it's like you get to do a kind of negligible thing once. Like it feels like this was probably going to be like a very important part of the limited format, which I think is really interesting.
Yep. Okay. I did want to talk about something else a little bit before we get into podcast questions. We did have a calling this past weekend, which I thought was very interesting in Kobe. It was won by a Florian, which is probably the worst kept secret that we've had in a while. I know that a lot of people have been looking at Florian as probably coming in his own in this meta. I know internally we've been talking about Florian, and it looks like almost everyone else is also talking about Florian. Not that it's the best deck in the game or anything, but it's like has a decent matchup spread, except for Enigma and a couple of other matches. But I think a pretty big breakout performance for Florian at this event. And it was interesting to see it happen like immediate adjustment meta-wise. Because it's like not something we saw at RTN or anything. And then it just like everyone kind of, I think, collectively clicked, hey, I think Florian's actually pretty decent in this meta, and people showed up with it. So What are some of your guys' thoughts on the Florian here? Probably like an A-tier hero is where I would put it in the current meta.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's like naturally where it goes, right? And it's one of those where it's like maybe it wasn't talked about, but we probably should have seen it coming, right? Like it's a powerful hero with a strong talent, with strong cards in a good class, and his worst matchup just LL.
Yep.
Obviously, it's going to get a lot better. Maybe it's doing better than some people anticipated, but it does make sense, right? I mean, Viserai was a bad matchup. Viserai LLs. Boom shakalaka.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm having trouble like wrapping my head around this deck and like how good it actually is. Because I think like the deck itself, for the most part, from like all the lists I've seen, is just like kind of terrible and like highly inconsistent. But like mathematically, once you get to the late game, you're so strong that maybe it just doesn't matter. But I don't know. I find in like matchups where they force you to have the things at the right time, it kind of falls apart. But maybe that just doesn't happen often enough. I don't know. In
It
my
has
mind,
bad
he's like
draws.
the deck's like
It just
unplayable.
has bad draws. Yeah.
My experience with Earth Heroes is that since they have like such powerful payoffs, that's like they have a lot of games that they feel like a limited game almost, where you're doing like a bunch of really bad things that feel really bad on paper, and it doesn't feel as fluid as a normal deck, but is ultimately like pretty close to, and a lot of the times much more powerful than like a normal fluid deck that just kind of functions normally.
Right. Yeah, and I want to rephrase. I don't mean unplayable. I mean it's just like so dysfunctional, this deck.
Yeah, it does
like,
not.
Every turn I'm like, oh, I just need to draw an attack and a non-attack, and then I'll use my hat, and this is how I'll turn the game. It's like, I only have attacks and
it's one of those.
Kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's just one of those decks where like you do a bunch of stuff that kind of feels bad, but then you win.
Yeah, like Verdance.
Yeah,
the other
exactly.
hero.
Yeah, then that's Jarl is the same way, where like the deck feels really bad and then you win.
Yeah, meta position's really good though. It's like a meta where the best decks have to be attacking.
Yep.
So when you can just sub a bunch of cards that block for 4 or 5 with your chest, and then swing back 1 card 5s, you're not doing.
Yeah, I think that's what I was talking about last week, where like you prey on the fact that decks get value by attacking every turn. So like you can just play lots of D-reacts and be fine.
It's always been true of FAB that the defensive cards are higher rate than the offensive cards, but the defensive cards are only above rate if they're allowed to do their thing. Whereas the offensive cards, you don't have the prereq of having to be attacked. But like if you're in a meta like this, like you were talking about, where you're allowed to block with whatever you want to block with, like defensive cards are just by far and away the highest value thing to do. Like people are asking, how do you like beat Aurora? Like how do you go over the top? Like you don't need to go over the top. Like every time you block 4 on their 4, like you're up. They like spent 2 resources to get that go again, and you just blocked it for free.
Yeah, and the issue there is that like Aurora has no setup she can do. Like she can pitch 2 reds to make a rune chant.
It's
cool.
Yeah,
it's just channel. It's channel Lightning Valley. Like that's her setup.
It's channel.
But Florian's maybe the best deck at stuffing this.
Yeah. Her 2 setups are play channel Lightning Valley, which you can stuff, or like Arsenal, Arc Lightning, or Flicker Wisp, which you can just plow. Right. So it's like you can't set up into them.
Yeah. The most, in my experience, like the ways that Aurora wins are just by literally like the stuff that's like not that likely to happen, like Burn Up Shock hitting and Lightning Valley hitting and Arc Lightning and Flicker just being close together. Like the stuff that's not that likely to happen, you just need like some of that to go right. Like some number of burn ups like kind of have to hit. Like some number of Lightning Valleys kind of have to work. And stuff like that. Like you have to draw Arc Flicker probably at some point. And stuff like that.
Yep. Agreed. So good movement there. The other interesting thing, no Syndra's made day 2. So Syndra completely dead. No one's going to play it at London.
20 players that played it. The third most played deck. And it had 0 in day 2.
Yeah, that's wild. That's worse than Zen at Portland.
Yeah. That's... Yeah. I mean,
I think Syndra has devolved into Bravo status for our team.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think any of us really thought she was good ever. She just
that's what I'm saying. Like we like almost irrationally hate on Bravo as being completely unplayable, where he's maybe like the tiniest bit playable. I feel like that's where we're at with Syndra now too.
Yeah, I think Syndra is also suffering from success, where like she won 2 callings with a deck that's really bad. So everybody that's like learning Syndra is just playing this like really bad deck that was preying on week 1 players not knowing how to play against it. And so like the actual good Syndra decks that like play blues and play power cards, they like exist and are probably reasonable, but nobody's playing them and nobody's building them because all the good players think Syndra sucks. And then all of the... Sorry, I shouldn't say that. If you're a good player and you think Syndra doesn't suck, I'm not calling you out. That was just... But like,
I do think Redline Syndra has it.
So soft. What happened, Lucas? You're so soft. He hosts one podcast and he gets so soft over here. This is against the core tenets of what we stand for on a podcast.
I just don't want to like shit on everybody that thinks Syndra's playable.
I do think Redline Syndra has some good matchups though.
Yeah,
where like being Redline is beneficial and they just like can't deal with the mask interaction.
But it just feels like the hero is like not being maximized. Like you have there's so many cards that are incredibly powerful in the Syndra deck that do like really crazy things that don't work if you're Redline. Like there's like spreading flames.
Yeah, but like the issue is pitching for her weapons is like just a bad play, right?
Yeah,
it's like why this Redline became a thing.
I think it does take like a careful deck build, and I'm not sure that it's good, but I'm just saying it feels like the powerful things in the hero aren't being exploited, and she's being like held back by the fact that all the Syndra players are just playing Redline, or they're like experimenting with 6 blues in their deck, or like whatever it is. But like they're not doing the utmost to like maximize the hero with a lot of blues, which I feel like which is something that people should at least move towards before.
Well, why aren't you doing this?
Because
Like, are you building Syndra with blues, or is she just Bravo?
That's
tier?
my point. Is
So
like
it's
I
not
think
worth
it's
it.
just like nobody's working on her because all of the hype that was working on Syndra is just like died down now, and so now everybody thinks that the Syndra deck is just the Redline deck, and so
You just
nobody's
have
willing to actually build
the,
it.
the problem with blues in the deck is you just like don't have an outlet for them. You don't want to be blocking with cards because then you have less
Yeah.
cards to threaten mask.
Yeah.
And if you don't draw 1 cost, you're converting your blue to like 2 damage. It's terrible.
Yeah, I think the best.
Yeah, I think you just want to
way-
be playing 5 at that point, right?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
the-
If you're playing blues, like at least they convert to 3 with Emberblade.
I think the best way
Or-
to actually build Syndra is to try and find a list that's like where you're expected to play like 1 to 2 1 costs on average, and then like the hands that don't draw blue, you just like use your vest, and you
But then they
just
stuff your vest and then you just like IP a billion cards or like pitch reds for reds. Like I think it just has like a fundamental flaw. Like you can't do
sometimes. Like
you
I'm
can't
not
do
saying
it
you
well.
can necessarily always rely on vest, but like that's what it's there for, right? But like you just intend to pitch to play like 1 or 2 cards a turn. I'm not sure if it's good, but like the power cards are in doing that, like spreading flames, rake over the coals, like all these kinds of cards that like are very powerful if you go super wide. Like a lot of the strong things that Cinder does, like Poison Blade with Blood Runs Deep. Like there's a lot of stuff that you can do that's really strong in the hero, but like it's kind of dumbed down if you're playing Redline. I'm not sure if it's any good. It just feels like the hero is being creatively like put in a box right now that's unnecessary.
And its current Redline build is just like not going to do Aurora consistently enough. Like and Aurora is the most played deck, so it's going to eat points there. Right.
It also catches traits from every deck that's good against Aurora that's playing like 9 to 15 DREX.
Yeah, if you want to find something that exploits this meta, you want to do something that forces your opponent to configure their deck entirely opposite from how they configure it into Aurora. Because maybe they don't have enough sideboard slots to actually actualize that.
Yep, I agree. Okay, let's move on to podcast questions. These are questions that are asked by premium members of our Discord. If you would like to be able to ask questions on the podcast, follow along with the Hero of the Month, which is Verdance this month. Ask the team questions, find any of our deck lists. I did update the chain list that I played with Cull. I know a couple of the members were playing that this last weekend at their skirmishes, or any of the other deck lists that we talked about. Feel free to join in the link below. So, first question here. Rinzo asks, Florian won the calling. Is he good into S tier, or was it because some were less prepared into him? I think we covered this pretty well, but his matchups into S tier are pretty good. His new matchup is pretty good, and his Aurora match is pretty good. I know a lot of people say his Zen matchup is good. I don't personally believe that, but I think it is against the majority of Zens out there. So that is pretty good into most of what people consider to be S tier. The reason I think he's an A tier is simply because Enigma is pretty much an auto loss if the Enigma is anywhere decent playing, unless they like their deck, like knock their deck over or something, which can happen. Like sometimes their deck's just bad.
Okay, I don't think that's 100% true because, like I was just saying 5 minutes ago, the Enigmas may just shove infinite defensive cards in their deck to try to beat Aurora, and then they may actually end up losing points into Florian to where he's maybe like 30% into them now because like they just have all these defensive cards.
It's possible, and there are Florian builds that are better into Enigma. The issue is those builds aren't typically good into Aurora. So they're sitting in some like weird limbo spots that I think they're still figuring out. But that is, a bad matchup. He does have other matches that are, I think, pretty difficult for him. But I think very comfortably in A tier, definitely a good deck in the meta. Cool.
Yeah. I'm like
next question.
Wait, one sec. I guess you're gonna go to Kazuma's question next, but if you join the Runaways Discord, you may get some prophetic advice. He was hyping up Florian the week before, saying he was the GOAT and getting rebuked, and then Florian ended up winning. So
it was pretty cute. Okay, Kazuma asks, question for the podcast is, so with Zen having a bigger possibility of showing up at Pro Tour London, now is it even worth playing him over picks like Aurora, New, Enigma, or Florian, specifically for PT London?
I mean, the reason you'd pick Zen is for the meta spread, right? You're generally slightly favored to even in almost every matchup. But we're talking like very slightly favored. So you're just like kind of coin flipping most games. You're hoping you draw well. You have some slightly unfavored matchups, which are also very slight. So you're just kind of like, I think your aggregate matchup spread is maybe the most positive in the game still, but it's
I
very
think,
narrow and the deck's hard to play. And
yeah, I think you have the most positive matchups in the game, but I think your like difference in win percentage compared to other decks is probably lower. Because I think
yeah,
that the other decks have good matchups, whereas Zen really doesn't have very many good matchups, except for like super slow decks that can't deal with Cosmic Awakening. Like outside of exactly that those decks, like
Enigma is still a good matchup. Like
yeah, Enigma too. I
we
agree.
meme on it a lot, but like
well,
stats show that it is still
I don't think
good. The
it's better
calling's
than
still
60%. I don't think he has very many matchups in the game that are over 60%. I think everything is within the realm of being able to lose. Except for, like I said, just like basically decks that can't deal with Cosmic Awakening, because Zen's just not inevitable into anything else. Like everything else can just like draw its good half while he draws no chi in the first two hands, and then like you're on an even playing field.
Yeah, like we brought Zen to Worlds because he was favored into everything and very favored into the top meta decks. Now
He
he's
was
like
also like
slightly favored into everything. That's it.
he was also like inevitable in some of the popular matchups. Like he wasn't
Yeah.
quite inevitable into Viserai and
But yeah,
Aurora.
people were playing CYB, so it was just like,
Yeah,
oh
like
man, I wish
everybody
they didn't
playing
ban
the
that
dumb
card.
CYB decks were pretty close to inevitable, and then the aggro decks like Aurora and Viz at the time, like people didn't know how to play against us, so they were close to free. Like they weren't quite free, like they're still aggro mirrors, but they were probably like 65 to 70%, I think. Whereas
Yeah, you
they're
got the
just
like unexpected factor because people
yeah,
were
like
down on Zen.
once people like woke up and figured out how to play against Zen State, like and everybody's decks got better, like it's a lot harder, I think, now to
Yeah,
have
but
really good
if you want to sit down every game and be 1 to 3% favored, Zen's your guy.
I mean, it's close to that. I mean, the 4 decks he listed off were like Aurora, New, Enigma, and Florian, and I think
I think he's
that
slightly up into all
Yeah.
those.
I think Zen is favored into all of those matchups, and it's probably by like 5% playing perfect.
Mhm.
More into
I think
Enigma.
more than that against Florian personally.
Yeah, I think
I
Florian's
think he's like very favored.
Yeah.
I also think it's probably 60% into both of them with perfect play. Florian with like new tech and stuff is a little
Yeah, I
annoying
think Enigma's
sometimes.
like 45%. I think Enigma like shits on Zen, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't draw cheap.
I don't. Yeah, that's just not real. Like
Not real.
New, I think you can say 50%, and I think a new Aurora, I think you can say 50% or a little bit more higher. So like that's why you would play it, like you mentioned. It's just like you can win every matchup. You're slightly favored. You could play perfect. It's still a good deck.
Yeah,
Like,
if you like hate playing gem lottery, like this is the deck for you. Like every
yes.
deck is the same. Like
Yeah.
it's like every deck is within 10 percentage points of each other, I think.
Yep.
10,
Cool.
20.
Next from Sam is, are you guys all still planning on going to Nats, even with how expensive, difficult it will be to get new cards?
Damn Skippy.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah,
I
that was
think,
never a question.
If they have some pirate staples, like if they have a Levels of Enlightenment style card for pirates, that thing's going to be super expensive. Like anything that gets played in all 3 new heroes, I think is going to go to the moon.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
should be fun.
I will be going, and I'll be playing Necromancer.
I mean, we have precedents for what's the word? What do you call it when you power keeping sync below? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not worried.
Paxi asks, what kind of mechanics do you want to see out of High Seas now that we've seen a sneak peek of the classes and confirmed the pirate talent? Also, is Pirate Necromancer best deck in format on principle alone? Yes.
You definitely had a biased person reading that. Yeah, I think we talked about the mechanics earlier.
This. Yeah.
Like the
Go ahead, Noah.
Well, they asked what we want to see. Like, what would we like to see from the set?
I want to see mech support in the mech slot.
Yeah,
Riches matter.
I want to see Ranger, like more robust Ranger cards. Like I want to see like 3 blocks and like good rate and consistency and armor from this Ranger. Like I still want to be able to do cool Ranger stuff, and I want to be able to play like a lot of the more mid-rangey like Lexi style cards with like Codex of Inertia, 3 Oak, stuff like that. But I would like to be able to block a little bit more, and I would like to have game into defensive decks a little bit more.
The thing I would like the most is if it doesn't have to be the Necromancer, but he seems like the most likely candidate, is to have some disruption that can work reactively, like Stalagmite, Frostbite, Face Perk, like those style effects. Like if they make some Watery Grave effect that can act like a disruption on the opponent's turn. So you're kind of like doing this dance at the table of like they know you have the ability to disrupt them, and then you on top of that have to know, okay, are they baiting me to use it now when they have like a way to play around it? I really like that like dynamic of a game, like slowing the game down a bit. I hope that's like a mechanic.
I think you could do that with like a toolbox as well. I think that's one thing I would like from the set is it feels like there's 2 heroes in the set that like definitely could have like a real toolbox of things. I think the harpoons are likely more like Draw My Dragons, where you just draw the specific one and play the specific one. But I feel like the Necromancer could definitely play out in a way where like you have 3 or 4 cards with Watery Grave at a time, and you kind of have to like decide which 1 or 2 you're going to play in a specific time, and it could be interesting to see like how you do that. Like imagine Dromai if you had to like choose which dragon you wanted for a specific moment. I think that would be sweet.
Yeah, I'm hoping they didn't pull their punches with Necromancer. Like looking at the way you could design cards around this ability and like this play style, it's like really exciting by the ways like on your opponent's turn and they're coming in and you're like, oh, I need to block for extra. I'm gonna loot this card, put the blue here. I'm gonna make an ally. My D-React now gets +1. Like, you know what I mean? Like I tap the thing. Like there's like so many like ways that you can start to like map out turns and play. And then your allies could be, you could have big ones, you could have finishers, you could have things that blow up the board that create like in-game states. But I'm just hoping they didn't pull their punches. Like,
Yeah,
it would be so depressing if like this hero that has all of this amazing potential and like cool ability and everyone's been waiting for, and it's on the hero. Like they didn't mess up the hero. The hero looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And you're like so excited and you get it, and like it's just like all like they just make their instances like make 1/1s and they like basically do nothing, and you're just like, oh, this sucks. Like they made it like real safe. Like so that's really what I'm hoping for is they didn't do that.
I'm hoping Gravy has some inevitability built in.
Yeah,
I want to like stack my graveyard and do this big payoff later.
Yeah. I think based on how Flesh and Blood likes to reward its players with cool stuff, I think he'll probably be making like ghosts and krakens and cool shit like monsters. But it looks like he has a crew. Is my guess. Looks like he's a ship. He's Davy Jones, right? And his crew is a bunch of different size and cost and pitch color. Maybe they're all blue or whatever. But he has a crew of monsters that he makes. Is what it seems like, right? So I don't think it'll be like he makes a bunch of little crabs. Like he's gonna summon the Kraken for 10 mana. Like that's
yeah. I think
there's gonna be a Marvel and it's gonna look awesome.
And hopefully it's just Convoke where you're just like I tap these zombies and then I put a bigger thing in play and then like stuff like that. Like there's so many ways you could design out of what you've already shown us that like I'm super excited for. I'm just hoping don't pull the punches.
It's also interesting that we see Necromancer follow Illusionist in that the release of the class when it first comes out is talented. I feel like Necromancer is like a class where inherently, given the flavor of it, it's like super powerful. So you probably have to make most of the Necromancers talented. Because if you make like generic Necromancer cards that do a powerful thing, they're probably just broken. Because we see the same thing with Illusionist, where like the generic Illusionist pool is not playable, because if the generic Illusionist pool was like able to make a deck, then it would just be the best deck. Or like basically all of the decks that are bad into that would never be playable, right? Because it would always be allowed. So it's interesting to see that Necro is like that, which makes me think that it's going to be like super powerful and really splashy, no pun intended, and all of the cool Necros will be like different flavor and stuff.
Yeah. It doesn't even. I'm not even asking for like give me the best deck in the game. I want this thing to just like crank. I'm just like there's so much exciting ways you could play it with agency. Like so many like just from the effect alone, and that please don't be afraid that the deck will be too strong so we lose some of what that agency could be. That's all I'm worried about.
I was just thinking about what Noah said earlier with like when your allies die, you can just replay them. I bet they
Mhm.
vanish when they die.
Yeah, that's
They
what
would
I'm
pull that
hoping that
punch.
doesn't happen, but that seems
Yeah.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay, one more
What-
thing about
Yeah.
mechanic I want. I just want like a new chest that's generic, that's an alternative for tunic, that maybe has like something to do with gold. I just like want to roll up and have real consideration in heroes of like, do I play my class chest or do I play like different generic chests? I don't know. I just don't like that it's basically, do I play my class chest or tunic right now is like the game we play. It'd be cool if there was another option.
Yeah, you have like Cop versus Bodge versus Skullcap versus Dominion Crown for like hats, but for chest it's just Tunic or like what Best of the First Fist is like the
Yeah,
next
it's like tunic or
split.
memes. Like there's no like actual real
Yeah,
alternative.
yeah.
Fair.
And like we already have a chest, you know? They could do like a meme where it's like a chest is your chest.
Yeah, we have arms too. Like we have multiple legendary arms. We have Vambrace. We have Stonewall Gauntlet.
Paxi also asks, what's Dan's favorite disc for disc golf?
Great question. I think we need way more disc golf content on here. I actually pulled it out for the people on YouTube. I'm going to show it really quick. Get the good lighting. So this is a Mick Pro Rock 3. It's probably like 10 years old. The issue with some disc golf discs is that they change the plastic pretty frequently. And like all of the attributes of your disc affect its flight. And like you need to be able to depend on it and like know exactly how it's going to fly when you throw it. So this disc probably came out like 10 years ago and they don't print this plastic anymore. It's Mick Pro plastic. It's like Paul Macbeth is like the GOAT. He's like the Hamilton of disc golf, but even more accomplished, I'd say. But if I want to replace this, I'd have to go on eBay and spend like $100, which sucks. But it's got this like, I don't know if I can show it. It's like giant gash in the side that makes it fly different than it would out of the box. So it's like my most reliable disc. And I could play like, I don't know why I have other discs. I could just sell this on every hole and I'd probably play my best.
You don't like use multiple discs? There's no like driver disc and like short range.
No, you do. I have a whole bag. This is a mid range. Yeah, I should say some more details. It's like a very straight flying mid range. But once you like beat it up, it becomes understable. So like naturally it just flies to the left. This one, if I throw it straight and hard, it'll slowly drift to the right, which is really nice to have. So then if I throw it on a different angle, it'll hold and go left. So I can do anything I want with this disc basically.
Is it like a Smash? They had like the controversy where people were like breaking their controllers to make it easier. Do people do that with discs? They like shave down the disc to like make it fly in a certain way.
There's
So, like,
probably regulations for.
The most important thing is trusting your disc and knowing how it will fly. So
Yeah.
like some people, yeah, if you want to beat up your disc, you can just throw it into trees for like an hour, but you want like a natural wear on it is what I find.
Okay.
This isn't really a thing to my knowledge, but
that's not like banned. Like to
Well,
beat up your disc.
it's from what
No.
it sounds like, it's not an advantage to damage it. It's just an advantage to know where it goes.
it's more like training your or like
yeah.
what's it called? Raising your Pokemon. I forget what it's called.
Yeah,
Breeding your Pokemon to find the right IVs or whatever.
Yeah, EV training. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you're doing by hitting trees.
Yeah, you're literally you're standing in tall grass and throwing it.
Yeah, it's like every bad throw is just like plus EV because you change your disc.
That's so cool.
Yeah, but this disc is unreliable. I'll be devastated if I lose it.
Mike at Blockout Party asks, flavor text trivia time. In the Savage Lands, humans, like animals, are more dangerous when they bleed. Name the card, no cheating.
I know this one.
I have no
Dude,
idea.
you definitely just looked it up.
I have no idea, but I was guessing
no.
barraging beat.
I know this
It's
one.
the first one that came to
I
mind.
have a reason.
Okay, go ahead.
Does nobody know it?
I cheated
No.
already, so I can't answer.
Oh, I don't know any flavor. I don't read flavor text.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I played Icelander for a year and a half, so I know it's Wounded Bull, right?
Okay,
Is it?
It is.
it's winnable. Yeah.
We don't know. Oh,
Is
No,
it?
it's winnable. Yeah. I said I cheated earlier and looked it up because
Okay.
I thought it was Blessing of Savagery.
That
So like
would've been so
aura that pops at the
embarrassing.
start of your turn. I was like, all right, dude, that sounds pretty reasonable. I've never read the flavor text. I know it has flavor text.
Can you imagine?
That's-
I was just like, I know this one, and then I was just completely wrong. It's like, imagine it is Blessing of Savagery.
No. No, you killed it, man. That's
Well, it's
impressive.
because he's like a beast. He's a bull. That's like the idea.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, but the flavor text doesn't impact gameplay, so I've just never read it.
yeah. I remember I have pink ones, so I care about the flavor text.
Yeah. Dude, I get into this conversation with one of my locals, Josh, all the time about like he plays cards because he likes the picture. I'm like, dude, if there was no picture, I literally wouldn't even know for half my cards. Like, I only use the picture to identify what the effect is. Like, I don't care about it at all. crazy.
Millen asks, why do you think Syndra had a bad weekend in Kobe and none made it to day 2? I think we
Because they were-
talked about that.
Yeah, it's because they were all stupid redline deck. I just don't think that deck's good, and people are hating on it right now. Like, people are putting like Calming Breeze in their deck, and that card is only good against like Syndra and Mario. So like, it just makes sense that like, if you're, I think the deck is like B tier. I think our tier list was about right. It's like probably top of B tier, and like the lists that people are playing right now are, I think, probably suboptimal, and also everybody's hating on it, and it's a deck that like gets a bunch of advantages when people don't know how to play against it, and all people have been doing for the last month is preparing for it and playing against Syndra. Like, it's just the perfect storm for an already kind of medium deck to get code.
Yep.
Bad meta
And
for it,
Aurora.
too.
Yeah, bad meta as well.
Yeah, also Aurora's not great, I think, probably. Although I think it's okay if your Syndra deck is built well. I think you should be okay into Aurora.
Scary Super Cringe asks, not a lot of higher elo players were on Syndra and Kobe. Only one was higher than 1600. Do you expect that trend to continue where Syndra performs poorly because none of the better players play her? I don't know how accurate that is, because it was in Japan, so a lot of the players don't really have the opportunity to get like elo. So I don't really put any stock into what their current elo rating is into that. But I will say, for all the reasons we've already covered, I was not surprised when we heard that Syndra performed poorly.
Yeah, I think you could make an argument that good players weren't playing Syndra, which is why she wasn't doing well. But I don't know that I would use elo as a base for what the good players are. I think that variance, and I think a lot of people have results that are not very good, and I think there are a lot of people that do not have results that are very good. And I think that the elo system is not a good indication, no matter where you are on it, with the exception of maybe like top, where like you have to do well at multiple major events in a row. But even then, it's like after one PT, it just like shoots up. So I would just not use elo as an indicator of how strong people are.
Yeah, elo is one of the worst.
I think the only way that elo is useful is if somebody is at a given ranking, or like above a given ranking, like major after major after major. Like if somebody's in the top 5 elo rankings for like 4 majors in a row, like that is one of the best players in the world. Like, but if somebody is like 4th place after 1 major, they maybe just spiked 1 event. Right?
I do think that the 1600 metric is kind of relevant, just because it shows like their experience playing in tournaments. Like 1600 is like, okay, you've like showed up to at least a couple tournaments before and gone like positive win rate.
Yeah, that's fair. There's no like first calling Timmys that have
difference between like 1700 and 1800 player is just like they had a good or bad one event. That's not like a huge thing, but above 16 I think is a relevant barometer.
I would agree if the calling was in the US or in Europe, but it was in Japan, and it's like they don't have that many opportunities to actually get elo. So I think you could use that comparison. You could be like, oh look, the US had like a 400 person event and no one over 1600 ran this deck, and you'd be like, okay, that would that would mean something. But I don't think that matters in like new regions. That's just not a good metric. Cool. Sergio asks, who's playing Gravy Bones at Max? This guy.
I'm playing that or Max.
This guy.
Hoping it's Max.
Already locked in. I already pulled out all the cards that I think are going to go in the deck already. They're sitting over here. You can't see it, but they're sitting over here, ready to go.
I am doing Cody's thing for the Ranger.
Yeah. Call to the Graves. They're right over there. They're ready to go.
If you play against me at Nats, I'm going to Codex of Inertia the shit out of you. That is all I would like to say.
If you sit down across from me and I'm playing the Ranger, just know the Ranger is the most broken deck that has ever existed in the game. Because that's the only thing that's going to get me off the deck row is if we start testing Ranger, we're like, this deck is completely busted, and then
what if they have an expansion slot card that's like Red Mirror Guy? Would you still play the Necromancer? Yeah. It's Mirror Guy. It's just 2 more counters. Like the red gives 4, and then it doubles. It's 8. It attacks for 16 or red.
Of course.
Okay. Still playing Necro?
I'm locked in. I'm necroed.
Okay.
I have not been excited for a deck in a very long time. I am now excited for a deck. I'm just hoping that
that's how I am with the Ranger.
I'm just hoping I don't get depressed after I read the set. That's it. That's all I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
I just want to see the first Watery Grave card so we can't like precedence for what what they might do
It's
with
just
the rest.
it's just LSS did such a good job designing the hero. Like the hero and the text on the hero is just so exciting that like I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, please have gone all the way. Please have just like taken this all the way because
I don't know, man.
so cool.
I don't believe.
I don't know. The last few sets have just been bangers, so I
Agreed,
can't really complain.
Yeah.
Okay. Big Hungry asks, what do you think of the execution of gym packs system? Do you have any changes that you would make to it? So what do we think about gym packs?
I think overall it's been very good.
It feels good.
I definitely miss, and I think people miss having like the prize card for winning their armory, but I don't know. It's so nice that everyone gets like some valuable thing, and it's kind of changed the vibe at armory from, because ours was like very, I don't know if sweaty is the right word, but like you felt like you were competing and like there was some pressure built in because there's just like a lot of good players and it's like hard to get the 3-0, where now it's just like we're just vibing and testing stuff and practicing cards if we need to, which is chill. I think it's a good place for armory to be.
Yeah. My biggest problem is that I think the cards in the gem packs just are like fell flat. Like I think that it's really nice that I think their intended goal was successful. I think that if you want to max rarity one of the hunted heroes, you can do a good job with a lot of the cards in the gem packs. I think they look good and they are good playable cards in all the new heroes, but there should be reprints. Like that should be where they reprint, like for this set they should reprint like Leave No Witness or something like that. Just things like that where like they should, I think, be reprinting some cards in these, whether it's like generics or whether it's, you know, whatever it is, but like an extended art codex at the top end if you want to sell it, or like, you know, whatever it is. I think there's a lot of space that they could put like good reprints in this, and instead it's just commons from the set. So like it does the one of the goals that they set out to achieve, where like armory attendance is up and people want to go and there's an incentive to go and the cards are worth money and it's good, but like it just feels like maybe the cards are worth money because distribution's not there and maybe people don't really want these that much, and I would like to see them try and diversify what's in there to kind of fix that kind of thing.
I mean, just wait until Necromancer comes out and the gym packs have all the extended art Necromancer cards. Like I'm going to be getting those at that point. Like they're going to be like everyone's going to want them. It's just that it's just that no one wants scar tissue or whatever that stupid cards are. No one just wants these cards. Yeah.
So some of the cards in there are relevant. Like
some of them for Mario because they have to bling out their deck.
Yeah, like scar tissue being the low end, being a card that actually is like played in most fan decks, like that is like a good thing. Like that is.
Yeah, Mark of the Funnel Web is probably like the
it's like Mark of the Funnel Web, Break Over the Coals. Like some of these cards are maybe not as played, but even then, like these are playable cards. Like
yeah, sure, just
yeah.
I don't know where prices settled, but I feel like cold foil weapons got pretty unobtainable with this change.
Yeah,
like I'm not playing any of the new heroes, but I'd be a little annoyed if I wasn't. I had to like spend $90 on a.
They eliminated like the mid-tier pull. It's like you either pull like some super cheap card or you get like the cold foil weapon, which is a huge hit.
Mm-hmm.
They need like some sort of like mid-tier hit.
Like it was nice when it like for armories it was like $30 on release, and then if you wait 2 weeks it's like $8 for your cold
well, to be fair, all the gem pack cards are mid-tier right now price, but that's probably just because distribution is not super. There's not a whole lot of it. But.
Yeah, we've been good. We've had enough for every single week so far, so it's been good for us. But I know there's been plenty of stores who are just like running out of gym packs. So
yeah.
But overall, I'm happy with the change. It feels fine to me. Only the reason is like I used to win my locals a lot, and it felt kind of scummy to just like get all of the cards, like all of the cold foils, even though it was like good for me. And now like I don't think I've won a locals in like 2 months, like legitimately like 8 events or something. I haven't won a locals, and like it's completely fine. I just open my pack, I play, I get my store credit for going like 2-1 or whatever, and I just play a different deck all the time now, and it's just like I just feel good about it.
Yeah.
And like if your local game store wants to be spiky, like you can get more packs to first, so you can do it.
We get an extra gym pack if you go 3-0.
Oh, do you? We don't do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, like Gilded Raven Games still does store credit at their armories.
Yeah, we still have
so
store
you can
credit.
do that too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah,
nice.
my local's super juice. It's just like it felt bad when it was like I'm getting 40 credit, and then I'm also getting the cold foil thing for like 4 months in a row. And I was like, okay, that's too much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, feels bad. But now I never win. Everyone beats me now. I'm washed.
That's been my biggest change. Armory packs, I go 3. You got it.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, let's wrap everything up there. Thanks everyone for tuning back into the proper podcast where we all hate each other, talk over each other, and do nothing but argue. So goodbye, everybody. Can't wait to see the comments.